Hi, Hoo. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic, Craig. Thank you for having me tonight.
Not a worry. It's absolute pleasure. Over in Osaka at the moment, I've talked to a couple of your fellow employees or athletes before. So you've had a bit of a relationship with him, like wrestling-wise, throughout the years?
I actually know Zombie Dragon for a very, very long time.
Yeah, right.
Probably since MKW started.
Right.
I was actually in MKW first show, which is in a gym in Dongguan. It's about 10 years ago. I can't remember the exact dates, but it was almost 10 years ago. So it started in a small gym, keep developing, where they have their base in Harbin.
Right.
And then every year they did big show in Shanghai and Shenzhen. And from time to time they have smaller events over the country.
Yeah, right. Actually, I can remember that show that you performed in last year. It was great. It was like the first one since the whole COVID lockdown. And if you watch the video, I'll be sitting there on the side there. It was a great show.
Yeah, remember that match? I actually not only wrestled in the ring, but like walk around for some outside brawl for a little bit. And you were right, that was actually the first match after returning. All the travel restriction has relieved, and then I started travel to China again, and that was actually June 2023.
Yeah,
my first time wrestling in China since the lockdown, and that was my first returning match, and that was MKW.
Right. And what was that feeling like coming back after such a bit of a, I think it was 3 years for you, if I read correctly, that you had a break?
Yes, it's 3 years. I started living in Japan 2019, and then the first couple of months I still able to travel around. Obviously, my family lived in Hong Kong and Guangzhou, so I travel around. And then there's a lockdown 2020, and that's 3.5 years, 4 years that I'm not allowed to travel to China, which, coming back to China 2023, it's refreshing. The moment I enter, I remember I didn't fly direct to Shanghai. I fly to Hong Kong first, spent a couple of days there in Hong Kong, then took the train, the overnight train to Shanghai.
Right.
I was thinking about taking the flight, but then the overnight train sounds more. I don't think we have that before COVID.
Right.
So I was like, let's try the overnight train. Yeah. There was an overnight train which was like 17 hours. That's the regular train. But then they have the high speed train, the bullet train with the sleeper on. So let's do that.
Why not?
Arrived at the morning of the show, check in the hotel, have a shower, then went straight to the venue. And I didn't feel like I've left.
Yeah.
It's the same people. Adrian was still there. Yeah. The people I wrestled 4 or 5 years ago, they were all there. There were the wrestlers from Singapore, from Malaysia as well. And then I didn't meet them for so long. And then we were able to meet in Shanghai. So it feels like I haven't left.
Yeah, like a family reunion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The fans as well, I think they really liked it as well. Just getting out and being able to go and watch some live entertainment. Yeah, the wrestlers really put on a great show.
I remember that show before the show start, and actually after the show start, I was standing outside the door. I was sitting there by my merch table, greeting the fans. Yeah. There are fans that I haven't seen for so long, and they have been supporting wrestling in China for so long. Sometimes I don't remember their name, but when I see their face, there's a familiar face. I've seen you 4 years ago. I've seen you 6 years ago. I've seen you since the first time I wrestled in China.
Yeah. Wow.
So I sit there. I was like shaking hand with everyone, say hi to everyone until there's a counter lady, the venue lady, comes in and asks me, "Oh, do you work for MKW?" I was like, yeah. I was like, she thought I'm the door guy, ticketing guy. Until I get in, get changed, wrestle, and then come back to my table with all the sweat on my face. And then she was like, "Oh, I didn't know you wrestle." Didn't ask.
Wow.
But yeah, the fun thing about wrestling in China is that, meeting the fans who support me, and China wrestling for so long, and they are still there, and this is the thing that makes me want to come back all the time.
Yeah. And for those 3 or 4 years, what did you do? I mean, you're a professional athlete, so that's where your main income is, I'm assuming. So, how did that affect you in that time?
I actually lived in Japan because I mainly wrestled for this company in Japan called Dragon Gate. 2020, we've stopped all the wrestling for 4 or 5 months until during the 4 or 5 months we did some TV taping without fans in it, but it doesn't feel right until I remember that was June 2020, which we stopped for about 4 months, and then we start having fans coming in. But the fans, I still remember they got some sort of social distancing rule, which the seats can't be right next to each other. You have to have a certain meter away from the other person. But that's how we started. And then 3 year, 4 year later, we sell out venues in Osaka, Kobe, Tokyo, everywhere. And everything just picking back up now. Actually picked up already 2 years ago. During the 2 years, 2020 to 2021, 2022, fans came in. They are not allowed to chant. They have to wear the covering, and then they can't chant. The only thing they can do is clap their hands, but every time they clap their hand, they need to spray their hand with the alcohol.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I still remember that time. That's some crazy time with us. But things just get back now. Things are returning now in Japan, especially in Japan. The company that I work for called Dragon Gate, we basically run 16 shows a month, sometimes 14, but on average 16 shows a month. So it's basically every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, I didn't wrestle 16 times a month because we take a rotation and wrestle about 8 to 10 times. But I think being here in Japan is lucky enough for me because this is basically the only place, well, America as well, but there's some different restriction depending on which states you are. But in Japan, basically, this is the only country where there's still wrestling show consistently, working out. And I'm lucky enough I'm here. Yeah, I started in 2019 and that was just the right time. If I decided to start like 6 months later, I might not be here.
Yeah. And the lifestyle as well. I mean, living in Japan, how have you adapted to living there? Because visiting Osaka is an amazing place. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. I've been there a couple of times now. How is it for you?
2019, at first, I was supposed to only come here for 3 months.
Right.
And then I extend for another 3 months. And then the second 3 months is where the COVID hit. So I stay here. At first I was here as a talent, a wrestler.
Yes.
It stopped, it restart again, and then the company find out that, well, they know that for a very long time, but I didn't get involved. I was a promoter in Hong Kong for 10 years in the past, since 2007.
We're going to get to that very soon.
I worked in the UK before, I worked in the America before. So I picked up a responsibility in the office where I become the talent relations person. Yes. Where when America company, when Southeast Asia company wants to book Japanese talents, then I am the connection. Right. So I picked up a backstage responsibility as well. Since then, that's why I'm here now. And this actually opened up a lot of other opportunity, which I did not expect. Other than that, I also because in the past we used to fly American commentary people, wrestling commentary. over for a big pay-per-view. But then during the travel restriction, they can't come in, and they asked me, do you want to take part in the commentary as well? I said yes, and then I also become a commentary person.
There you go.
So it's like a lot of other things happening around me other than being only in the ring, and this is actually something I enjoy most.
I mean, it's not every day you just pick up a microphone and just commentate. I mean, I've heard in the WWE when Vince McMahon was there that he would be in the ear telling them what to say. So how have you adapted to commentary? At
first, I really don't want to do it.
Yeah, right.
I really don't want to do it because obviously English is my second language. Right. So every time if I want to say something, it goes through in my mind in Chinese and then it translates it into English.
Yes.
But a live commentary requires you to say things fast according to the screen, right? Yes. So sometimes when a wrestling move happened, it happened to me in Chinese in the head, and then the moment I translate it into English, it becomes the second move already.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So at the beginning, it was really tough for me. Although me and you now, speaking via English, but being a commentary is a totally different story. But after 2 years now, I mean, I feel quite confident now.
Yeah.
And then the good thing about it is I'm commentating the oncoming Dragon Gate, which I basically watch 10 times a month.
Right.
I can expect. I already know what's going on with who and who using what move, kind of things like this. So
when you do commentate, it's something that I'm always interested to know. Do you know the outcome, or do you want to watch it and then speak about it live?
I do not know the outcome.
Oh, good.
That's why sometimes for me it's a surprise when a surprising wins happen.
Yes.
That is actually better.
Yeah, I agree. And it gets your raw emotional feeling. Yeah. But wanted to talk about the Japanese crowd as well. I mean, they've always had a good reputation of being very hardcore with their wrestling. New Japan has been popular for such a long time. So what is it about the Japanese fans?
When you compare it to WWE fans, when you compare it to America fans,
yes,
as a whole, this April I was in America. This April, wrestling there for a week, and then we draw the same amount, 700 people, 1,000 people.
Yeah, right.
But then 1,000 people in Japan is basically less loud, but more quiet than the 1,000 people in America. Yeah. America, they chant for everything. They boo for everything. Right. They are very into the thing happening in the ring, and they are very into the wrestler that they support. And sometimes, if there's athletes who come in that they don't know, they still boo and chant, whatever, reacting them in the ring. Yeah. In Japan, people are more calm here in Japan when they watch wrestling. They clap hands when they see really good athletic action. They will chant in a way that very unified, If the person sitting next to me doesn't chant, I don't chant. And they don't shout crazy things like the American is, Sometimes the people at the back of the hall, they will shout, "You shut up," to the ring, and then the whole arena, they hear it. But in Japan, they don't do that. They keep a lot of emotion in the mind until there's one match that touched them. So when you watch Japanese wrestling and you see the crowd is hot, that means the match is very, very good.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I had a similar opinion. I saw Queen play in Osaka in February. Amazing show. But they were so respectful. They would listen to the song, and then they would cheer and clap, and then it would be dead silent. And I coughed, and it echoed through the arena. I was just absolutely, I was absolutely shocked. just every song was just the same way. They're very knowledgeable and they're very respectful.
Yeah, wrestling is the same. Sometimes when there's an important match that happening, there's no sound. There's like library, but there's 1,000 people there. But it sounds like a library until they lock up and start doing chops and punch and everything, and then there's like, whoa, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. But then when we, compare the wrestling fans in China, let's talk about China.
Yes.
It's also more fun, especially for me because I speak both Cantonese and Mandarin. When I wrestle in Guangdong area and Hong Kong area, it actually echo with the fans, there's a lot of dirty words in Cantonese. There's more dirty words in Cantonese than in Mandarin. Yes. And then, we have a lot of slangs there that actually designed just for us Cantonese people. And then it's so fun to wrestle in Canton, in Guangdong area, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Macau, Shanghai as well. But thinking about the MKW crowd, actually half of them doesn't speak Chinese.
Yeah.
There's a lot of English-speaking people living in Shanghai who always come to enjoy the show. But then, when I say something in Chinese, they react. So Chinese wrestling fans, I think they watch more WWE than watch more Japanese wrestling. Yes. And people in China, they are more expressive to their emotion. So I think they are more tend to the American crowd where if you say something in Chinese that touch them, they love you straight away.
Yes. But exactly the opposite. If you say something bad about the country, or they will boo you. I went to the Guangzhou one as well a couple of months ago, MKW. Yeah. That was very similar. They got some really hardcore fans that want to cheer the good guy and then really boo and do everything that they can to have the good guy win. So, but you need those fans. That's what gets the crowd going and motivates the wrestlers. So let's go back into your career, actually where you started. So you were born in Hong Kong, right?
I did.
Yeah. So tell us about growing up there. Were your mum and your father involved in any sort of entertainment or wrestling?
There's no wrestling in China at all.
Yeah, right.
Back 20 years ago. But then I have cable TV at home where I can watch New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And then that was when I was about 7, 8 years old.
Yes.
And then there's also a TV channel that air WCW.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
back in the day, 1994, 1995, where WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling worked together all the time. It just aroused my interest when I see the same wrestler appear in my Japanese channel and appear in my Chinese channel. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy, I saw him on the other channel.
Yeah.
That was the period where, Great Muta, Jushin Thunder Liger, Sting, Hulk Hogan, There's also a point where Dennis Rodman was there. The NBA guy was.
So it was like the NWO, right? That was
that was where I started watching, and then I watched it from there, and then I asked my mom, "Do you want to bring me to a wrestling school?" Because I wanted to be them. My mom said yes.
Oh, really? That's great.
Brought me to a class, a neighborhood community center. Sign up for class. Start learning all the bumping and things. I was like, this is not a wrestling ring. This is just a crash pad and thing. And then I finally find out that was judo.
Oh, right.
Then I learned judo for a few years, but it actually gave me the fundamental of, the wrestling, because being slammed, how to get slammed and, not get hurt, that's the same technique.
Speaking of slam, your trainer, I do believe, was the Slam.
The Slam, the Slam. Well, the Slam is a person, right? Not the Slam.
Yes, Slam. That's right.
His ring name is the Slam, and he is the godfather of China Pro Wrestling. Yes. And he will actually be in Shanghai, September 14th. I met Slam on 2005, 2006. I cannot remember. He was an exchange student in Korea. not wrestling student, like high school student, like kind of student. He was a wrestling fan growing up, and then on the weekend he trained in a Korea, wrestling school.
Wow.
He come back to China and find out there's no wrestling in China. He didn't go to a judo class like I did, but he built a wrestling ring on his rooftop.
Right.
And then he called himself CWE, China Wrestling Entertainment. The first 6 months, I think the only wrestler over there was him and his 2 other cousins.
Right. So it took a little while. Business was a little slow, right? So
It got a little slow until, I don't know if you know that app called QQ.
yes.
So that app actually exists 20 years ago, 2004, 2005. He put his, photos and, videos on his queue. And I was like, oh, let me message this guy. This looks fun.
Yeah.
At least it's not a judo class. Message him. And he said, oh, just come. I'll pick you up at the bus station.
Wow.
All right. That's straightforward.
Who is this guy?
Yeah. So luckily he's not far away from Hong Kong. But that time there's no bullet train in China. There's still all the, 20 years ago, Guangdong, all the places are dig up just to, build all the high-speed train.
Yeah.
I took a bus, which go through all the country road, which 2 hours later, I was there in a bus terminal. Well, bus terminal is not a bus terminal. It's just a street bus stop with a sign, like broken down sign. I was there. I called him. I was like, okay, I'm here. He come in a motorcycle. Vroom, 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 vroom. Not the small, scooter where you see all the, wet market auntie, not the scooter. It's a really nice motorcycle. You come in, oh, you're a whole loon, right? Oh. I come in, sit behind him, holding his shoulder like this. It's the first time I am on a motorcycle. It's scary. It's so scary. Come to his house, and there's all the scaffold which built by bamboo. Yeah. Those kind of scaffold on his rooftop, and then there's a wrestling ring there. That's how I started.
Wow.
2004. And then from since then I traveled there on and off, on weekend. I was still a uni student at that time, so I travel on and off, over the weekend and learn slam from the slam.
Yeah, that's right. And I read that you would travel from Hong Kong to Guangzhou every week, once a week, back and forth.
Once a week. Sometimes if it's really busy, I'll skip 1 week, but I will go in the other week.
Yeah, right. But you can tell straight away that obviously that was a passion for you at a very early age.
It's actually not that bad. It's only 2 hours away, My house in Hong Kong is quite near to the checkpoint, so it's 2 train stops to the checkpoint and then 1 bus ride. But then the bus ride was really, is a horrible ride.
So what were the main things that the slam, or what you got out of learning from him?
I remember the first day after getting slammed by the slam. I woke up the next morning, my neck, I feel like my neck was like this big. But then obviously it's not. But then the sore, the neck, it's that pain. I was in a judo class for 3 years. I didn't feel that. But then getting slammed in the wrestling ring is a totally different story.
Yes.
Bam, 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 bam. Oh, wow. I feel headache and my neck feel like this, and but I still, travel on and off. And then until there's one day I got slammed, next morning I wake up, I feel okay, and that's the moment I know I should be doing this not forever. I mean, at that point I still feel like, okay, let's keep on doing this until I can't.
Yeah. So you had your judo when you were a kid, and then now you're getting professionally trained. So now you've got this good mix of karate and wrestling as well. So that developed all the way through your career, right?
Yeah, and then in 2007, I feel like I traveled enough to Dongguan. So if Slam can build a ring on his rooftop, maybe I could.
You can do it.
So I try to buy a wrestling ring in Hong Kong and put it in a warehouse. There's a warehouse building in Hong Kong where I ran it, and then I put a wrestling ring there. But there's no wrestling ring supplier, obviously. I went approached to a boxing ring supplier.
Yeah.
He said he could do it. That time, 2007, I was a kid. I was not a kid, but I just graduated from high school. I don't know anything happening in the real world,
Yeah.
So when he said yes, I was like, okay. I take the ring. I said, this is not bouncy, man.
Yeah.
This is not as bouncy as the slam ring.
Yeah.
So I can fix it for you. He put a spring like this big in the center and give it like 1 millimeter of spring. I was like,
Right.
okay, I'll eat that. Next morning, second day of the training in Hong Kong, my neck feels this again.
Yeah, back to that. back to the sore neck again. But
but it's a good thing then we use that warehouse for another 2 years. It's a harder ring, but then it actually gives me more fundamental that give me more motivation to train harder, which I get slammed in a harder ring that I still can take it. It's actually good, And then we start building it. We start doing show in our warehouse. First show was 50 people until the last show that I produced, 2019. 3 days straight, 300 people come in, so 900 people in total.
That's fair. And it's saying here that you made your wrestling debut on the 6th of June 2009. Yes.
So we start that warehouse 2007. We train ourselves. I recruit 10, 20 of them. A lot of people gave up because they don't want to take the pain and it's not something they expected.
Sorry, did you start training people yourself at that stage?
I did.
Right.
I did.
Yeah.
And then 2009, we feel like, we have about 10 guys who might possibly, wrestle in a real match.
Sorry, who are some of the guys in that?
They were still wrestling today. Which my opponent that time was the Lady Beard.
Oh yes.
Still really active right now, but he's more into the music side of his career. He's living in Japan as well, but occasionally I think he wrestled for this promotion called DDT. But now he's more into the music career. That's why he didn't touch wrestling a lot. The other guy, Jason Lee.
Jason Lee, yeah.
He's also in Dragon Gate. He actually came Dragon Gate first. He came Dragon Gate 2017, and he's already multiple-time champion here in Japan.
Amazing.
Men Brothers, they started with us on day one. They don't wrestling as often now, but they still do, wrestling a lot in Hong Kong. I think they were in some of the shows in Gwangju. And this guy called Beatman, he also started with us since day one, and he is the promoter in Hong Kong now. I actually gave him more my responsibility like 2 years ago because I feel like I live in Japan now. I can't control the stuff in Hong Kong. You know what I mean?
You're the
There's also some new,
now.
there's also some new guy who came in. I don't know who they are. I went there wrestling in Hong Kong. There's some hi. You wrestle in Hong Kong? Yeah. Oh, okay. I haven't met you before. I didn't know you had your sis, but. Yeah, so Bitman now responsible for Hong Kong wrestling. And, a lot of people, when we first start 2009, they are still here. And if they give up, they give up already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 2009, yeah. And then 2010, the rent goes up on that warehouse. I don't want to do it. If they're raising the rents, then why don't I use that money to travel myself, to fly myself to UK, for example, to see what the real world is. Because what I've seen was Slam's ring on his rooftop and my ring, which I thought that's the right way to train people.
Yes.
I haven't seen the real world yet. So I took this chance to fly myself to the UK, train there. There's a promotion called 4FW. They are actually one of the top wrestling promotion there in the UK. They rename it now. They were called British Kingdom Wrestling nowadays. So the first training session I was there, I was so nervous. But then after 3 hours of training, I was like, okay, I think I was good. 80% of the moves that I trained myself and, Slam trained me was me and the British guy, We go one round. Okay, I feel comfortable doing this.
But was your style good for that English pro wrestling?
No, I was very skinny. I was more skinny than now I do.
Right.
I'm like 75 kilos now. But
Right.
back then I was like 61 or something.
Right.
I was just a set of bone covered in skin.
Yeah.
I got no meat.
So what was the difference there, and what were you learning? What did you learn there? Because I'm assuming that it would be tough over there as well. I mean, the training.
It does, and then they are more heavyweight wrestler.
Oh, right.
Hong Kong, we are a bunch of skinny guys. The biggest guy there is like Lady Bear.
Right.
He's the guy that I train him.
Right.
So I also like, okay. But then when I traveled to the UK for the first time, there were like real heavyweight wrestler, 100 kilo, get punched, get shoulder tackle from them. I was like, boom, get hit by a car.
Were they harsh on the younger, like the up and comers? Because normally the older wrestlers, they like to get into the younger wrestlers.
Luckily, they were all really friendly to me.
Oh yeah, okay.
Although I don't speak a lot of English, and then I come in like a skinny kid, and then they still like being very friendly. So I trained there for like 9 months, 2011, 2010, and then on and off I went back again 2013, and then I start getting more booking. Book for shows not only locally in Birmingham, but London, Manchester, Leeds. Where else? Swindon, Bristol, all the places.
Because the English fans, they seem to be really passionate as well, because they don't get to see it as much. I mean, if it's WWE, but when they do, and AEW, when they come, they've been getting massive, massive crowds.
Yeah, but when we go to like smaller towns, although we do show in front of like 300-400 people, the kids come in, they're really happy to see me. It was a fun experience. And then going to the UK was actually changed my mind, when I see things happening in the real world. When the UK promoter also brings in ex-WWE wrestlers. They bring in wrestlers from Japan, and the professionalism. Wrestling is something that you train physically, of course. But then when you see things, the things happening in the real world, it changed your mind as well. And I was a promoter in Hong Kong. Being a promoter, you have to think more than just the 15 minutes in the ring. You have to think about the 2 hours of the show as a whole. You have to think about the 2 months before the show, how you're going to sell it.
Yes.
Sometimes when the fans doesn't show up, you're more nervous than facing a 500-pound guy.
That's right. Yes.
So it prepared me, a lot of things, not only as a in-ring performer, but also, handling different things.
How do you prepare for something like that, where you're the booker, so you're in charge of all the ticket sales, you're in charge of the wrestlers, you're in charge of the hotels, everything, the marketing, the sales,
It's a lot.
And then you've got to go out and wrestle as well. Are you able to switch very quickly from wrestling athlete to promoter?
At this point in my career, wrestling in a match, it is the last thing that I worry about.
Yeah, right.
I should worry about, what if the music doesn't work? What if the lighting doesn't work?
Yes.
What if I can't get the money from the ticketing system? Wrestling is the last thing that I worry about. Because in wrestling, every time it's the same move, and, every time you treat the fans as first time they come into to see you. And they don't mind seeing you doing the same move. They come because they expect to see you do the same move. Okay, once a while, you do some special move for a treat. It's like you watch band show a lot of time. The same band singing the same song for 20 years and you still go.
Yes.
Same thing to wrestling.
Yeah.
You do the same move for 20 years, they will still come to watch. And the critical thing is you have to do this move 100%, 120%. Next time they come in, you have to put 200% doing that move.
Yeah.
But then, this is the thing that attract them to come in. It's like watching band show. You watch a lot of band show, you should understand what I say.
So true, but Hulk Hogan, for example, was doing the same kick to the face and then the leg drop he did it for 30 years and they still come back and they still was selling out arenas all over the world. So
it sounds weird when I say this, but this is actually, what makes the fans happy. We're not doing this for a big crowd. We are doing this we always do this, especially in China, always a smaller crowd, 300, 500, at max 800. So people who come in, actually, you know them all the time. And then there's some newer guys, new wrestlers. They thought, being that 15 minutes in the ring is a big thing. So what they did, hiding backstage and just prepare for this match, which I think at this stage of China wrestling, it wouldn't help you build your, personality, build your brand, build your Ho Ho Lun brand, build your whoever you are brand.
Yeah.
But then, if you spend 1 hour of the time, like I said, last year in Shanghai, I stand there until the lady thought I am a staff member. You have to stand outside, you remember everyone who comes in, you build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Wrestling is not an established sports in China yet, so you can't expect them just posting, 2 cool moves on TikTok and they will come. They won't. Yeah. Well, they might come one time and then they don't come forever because you don't want to build that relationship. I want to build that relationship. So, the move that I do, I make it perfect. I treat the fans with respect, treat them like a good friend. Well, they are a good friend of mine because they support me for a long time, Yeah, this is a lot of things. Wrestling is the last thing that I worry about. The thing that I worry about is, how to build a relationship with the fans and make sure the show doesn't go wrong, the music, the lighting, the production, and the ticketing, all the things.
Yeah. And if people go home with a smile on their face, you've done your job.
This is the most important thing, They go back and talk about it.
Yes.
We have all the social media now. They talk about it on WeChat, talk about it on Twitter.
Yes.
That makes me happy and makes them happy.
Yeah, absolutely.